Hello and welcome to this, our sixth ever episode of the Whatever This Is podcast. We still aren't sure, so it's still whatever this is. Thank you for joining us again. I'm Paul, she's Victoria. We waffle quite a lot about cars, boats, planes, anything else that comes to mind, really. And VMB, I don't think you are actually in Monaco, but what has happened this week? Have you been busy driving the desk?
Flat out driving the desk, absolutely flat out. I don't know. Is it just because you're going to the end of the sort of semester, that working time before you go on holiday, and everything needs to be done because nothing happens beyond the 3rd of August. So everything has to be done by then. It's
Mhm.
been a blur,
Yeah.
and I wish I had something really exciting to say, but I have just been shackled to my desk every single day.
You see, now, I don't think that's entirely true, and I'll come to that in a minute, but I do think. In part, you're right. It's the summer thing. People almost get things done before summer, but also there have been shows, there have been events, there have been trips, whatever. And like when you're like us and you are a freelance writer, for every trip, there's 2 or 3 weeks of just sitting on your own writing stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying, oh, how sad, how terrible for us, but that is the way it tends to work, isn't it? You have these 2 or 3 days at some tremendous show, and then really 3 weeks more or less on your own writing stuff before the next show, which makes us very strange creatures, I feel.
Yeah. And
It's
it's a mad existence socially as well because you're
mm,
thrust into a scene of millions of people and networking and all that sort of stuff, and then suddenly you come home and you're on your own at your screen, dead silence, pin drop silence.
yeah, yeah. Do you know?
And
I know you live somewhere rural as well, and what always surprises me every time I've been away, and Vegas is a good example because I go to the NBAA show every October. And
Mm.
yeah, the show is full on for the 3 or 4 days, and then usually I go straight from the show to the airport to come back home again, land Heathrow or Gatwick, wherever, early morning. For me, that's then a 3 hour drive home. And the
Mhm.
closer I get to home, the more rural it becomes, the quieter it becomes. And
Mm.
then I'm on roads stuck behind tractors. I'm thinking, how can I have been in Vegas
Yeah.
12 hours ago and now I'm stuck behind a plow on a little country road too narrow to overtake?
It's like traveling through time, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's just bizarre. Anyway, that was all a bit philosophical, wasn't it? And the reason I think you haven't been shackled to your desk the whole time is because you sent me a photo of a boat and you said, "Oh, gone out with some friends on a boat," and it looked absolutely perfect. So I know
Mhm.
nothing about boats. Tell me about the boat.
Well, we were on a little dinghy. We were on a friend's dinghy on the
Mhm.
Itchenor River here, down on the south coast. And it
Right.
was just one of those last minute, it's a really gorgeous evening. Should we put the boat in? And that's exactly what we did. So we all met down there, took some provisions, and got on the boat. And we sailed down the Itchenor River. And we have lots of little waterways, lots of little creeks.
Mm.
So we just pottered up and down and just visited and went to a few pubs and had some lovely drinks and bumped into some friends. And it was just a really, really good end to what was an absolutely manic week. And it was lovely. On our way back, however, at about, I think it must have been about 9:30, something like that, we were coming back downriver to the house to
Mm.
take the boat back out of the water again. And we passed a gorgeous little group of people on this beautiful old ketch with this gaff rig. So lots of weird sails in different placements around the
Right.
rig, around the twin masts. And it was just this completely, there was a zephyr of wind, but it was just enough to just drift this boat upriver. And it was so peaceful. And as we were just sitting on the water with the little fut, 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 fut going down the river, this sweet little boat, we passed them and they were just sitting on the back with glasses of rosé and just cushions everywhere. And there were sort of four of them. And this gaff rig, it was just complete silence, as you say, idyllic. And it was just going past really slowly. And that was the last 3 hours of the week as the sun set on the
Mm.
water on the south coast. And it was so nice. It was just
Yeah.
bliss. Yeah.
So, so ketch isn't just a posh way of saying catch, is it? What's a ketch?
Okay, so a sloop is a single mast yacht,
Right. Yeah.
sailing,
Yeah.
sailing as opposed to motor. And
Right.
then a ketch is a double mast, twin mast. Yeah.
Oh, and a gaff isn't just somewhere where you live.
It is, but it is also a kind of rig. Yeah, so it's a kind of sailing rig. So you have different sails for different types of sailing. So you've got
Right.
racing sails, you've got cruising sails, you've got all sorts of things that harness the wind
Hmm.
according to what the wind is doing at a particular time.
And a rig is a configuration of sails.
Yeah.
See, this is
Exactly that.
such an educational podcast. I don't know why millions of people are subscribed because we've learned all these new things already, and we're only what 4 minutes in.
I know the excitement. Oh my God.
The
I know.
value.
But yes, but you've got water up near you.
Yeah, so yeah, we're not far from the Norfolk Broads, which is idyllic. Not like the river system you're talking about, because Norfolk Broads are man-made, so it's a little bit different. And that
Yeah.
blew my mind when I found that out last year, I think. Lived in this area pretty much my whole life. We went on a boat cruise, and the driving along, sailing along, I don't know, whatever you do on a boat on a river. And the captain says, "Oh, of course the Broads were man-made, all dug out by hand." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, say that again."
Yeah.
But
What?
were dug out for fuel and building materials and this sort of thing. But our boat crashed. So, yeah, we had possibly the world's slowest accident. So, you go down a river on one side or the other, don't you? I don't know,
Yeah.
left or right,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we were in this big river cruising boat thing. And there was I'm struggling here for the right nautical terms.
Yeah.
Big boat with masts is what I'll call it, coming towards us. And apparently you can hire this big thing. And the captain said, "Oh, I don't think the people coming towards us really know what they're doing. They seem to be turning, but they're on the wrong side of the river." And so our motors sort of reversed, and there was lots of churning of water, and this thing just pulled across in front of us. And we struck it a glancing blow as we went past one another. And the captain said, "Right, I need to make some phone calls because I think I may have lost my job." Oh no. It put me
Stevie.
it put me in mind. Do you remember the was it a tanker or something that got stuck in the Suez Canal
Oh yeah.
years ago? The
Yeah.
world's
Evergreen.
slowest accident. Got it
Yeah.
slowest, didn't they? Sort of got it. I've got
Yeah.
it. No, I haven't. Got it. I've got no. Just imagine. Took an hour to have the crash. But yeah, so we do
Yeah.
have that was a very
Yeah.
long-winded way of saying yes, we do have lots of water around us. It's very flat as the fens, but you
Yeah.
don't really see craft on the water very much.
No.
It's yeah.
But what you said, it had a mast. But what I remember from the Norfolk boards is that it's full of really low bridges, and you
Yes.
tend to get a pilot on board who jumps on board just before a bridge and takes you through so that you don't scrape either side of this long boat.
Yeah,
But
so
it's flat, so there's no mast.
that is
Motor.
true. But some of the bigger what do they call them? Broads. They call them broads, don't they? The bigger
Yeah,
lanes are called broads.
right. Yeah.
Some of the bigger broads have these big. It's true, they're quite flat, wide boats, but they do have masts on, and they're called wherries.
Don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
think they're
don't
called
know.
wherries, and you can navigate those out to sea from the Broads,
Really?
is my understanding. But I could be making this all up. This
I
is such
tell
a
you
poor
what,
quality podcast.
yeah.
It's just nonsense.
I was just all I'm envisaging is one of those boats going out on the North Sea and passing one of the great big Shell oil rigs and thinking,
Ooh.
we're not doing very well here. Can you imagine how that would cope with North Sea waves
Yeah, when I
and
say
swell?
when I
Oh,
say sea, I think maybe I mean the wash rather
yeah. Well,
than the
that's it.
sea.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
do remember we're on the boat pre-accident, and there was this big old boat there with all this lovely woodwork on it. They remind me of a flying boat,
Yeah.
an old-fashioned flying boat. And the captain said, "Oh, the owner has restored that, and she has groups of kids come out and they learn how to sail it and work the sails and stuff." And I'm sure he said it went out to sea, but I may well have made that up. So
Well, if it had sails, it may well have.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was a glorious thing anyway. So
Yeah.
there we go. So
Yeah.
okay, that's boats.
That's boats.
Can I
Yeah.
have a bit of a moan now, please?
Yeah. Go with your
Okay.
moan. Definitely.
So I realize that you do lots of PR and media stuff for people, so this isn't a moan in your direction, but it really peeves me when companies send out press releases and they either include a really low resolution photo that's
Mhm.
no use to anyone, and you message them and say, "Oh, yeah, I'd like to run the story. Have you got any better pictures?" "Oh no, that's all we've got." And you think, how did you
Well,
what?
yeah.
Or it's a contract signing, and it's two people shaking hands with some stuff that they've signed in front of them. And if it's an airline, and this really gets my goat, there are two cabin crew, female cabin crew, looking beautiful, but purely decorative. And I think it's humiliating for them. It's of no use to me whatsoever. And it makes you look like you're stuck in 1996.
Mhm.
So that's part of the peeve. The other part of the peeve is someone puts out a press release and I think, oh, that's a really interesting story. That would really be useful for one of my outlets. So I email them and say, yeah, I'd love to do an interview with da da da. Oh no, there's nothing more to say other than what's in the press release. Now, have I got this wrong? Is the press release the end of the story, or is that I always thought that was the beginning of the story?
Beginning of the story.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
giving somebody the heads up
Yeah. So
about
so you've
something that's about to happen.
you've got an exec or someone on hand primed,
Yeah,
ready for you to connect with the person who wants to follow up the story.
yeah. So you
Hmm.
engage them through the press release, hopefully engage them, unless it's really dull. And then you sort of extend the story idea and involve them in it, etc. And they write the story, and you have some great photographs and some great video content. And
Yeah.
it's all really well written. And you have your interviews if you need to support the story that way. I wonder if they were using the girls as decoration in their uniforms because it's all part of branding and
Yeah,
they
but
want to link the two.
why are they never men in the airline's uniform?
Are you never getting males on these
Hmm.
images?
Never, never,
Really?
never, never seen a man in an image
Really?
like that. Not the people signing two decorations. Never, never a man. If it's something like an airline has done its 10,000th trip to a certain airport, then yeah, you'll get the crew who actually flew that flight, and then there might be a man.
Yeah.
But on these sort of showing off things, no, it's always women. And I just think,
Funny, isn't it?
yeah, I just think don't. Just
Yeah.
grow up a bit, you know. But anyway, so
Yeah.
that's part of my moan. But
Yes.
that leads me into the whole low resolution image thing. So I'm
Mm.
involved in a local civic society and I edit and kind of lay out their they call it the review. It's like an annual journal. And it's
Yeah.
been going since I don't know, the 1930s. So I feel quite honored to be part of that for a few years. Anyway, we have a story this year about the importance of horses to the town and how if you know where to look you can still see evidence of how like there are archways in buildings for horses for carriages to go through and there are horse troughs around the place, but the pictures that the author had sent were all low resolution. They're all screen grabs off the internet, so dodgy copyright anyway. And just so I thought I might as well go around town and retake new versions of what she wanted to illustrate her story. So there's a really grand horse trough, a big sort of monument thing. I mean, it's all full of weeds and dirt now, but it still sits there on the side of one of the main roads into town. So I went and took its picture. And we're walking back to the car, and a friend of my wife's walked past. She said, "Oh, I think that's Caroline." And it was Caroline, and it was actually Caroline was standing outside her house. She was just going home. And she said, why are you here?" I said, "Horse trough." She said, "I've researched that." Oh. And she had. She'd got a dossier of information. She'd got old postcodes, postcards and photos, and it had been moved at some point, and I didn't know this. And she was researching the family that it was dedicated to and all this kind of thing. She said, "Oh, come in and see all the stuff I've got." So we went in, and in her front room there was, I thought, a piano. Turns out it was a pianola that doesn't work because something's missing. Anyway, on the top there was a photo of some young men and a Lancaster, just the nose of the Lancaster peeking out. And I couldn't tell whether it was right to mention it or not, but it was a picture of a Lancaster I'd never seen before. And I said,
What?
You got a picture of a Lancaster?" She said, "Yes, that's great Uncle Alfred with his crew. He flew with 207 Squadron." I said, "Oh, so if she knew the squadron, I'm thinking she knows a bit about this. There could
Yeah.
be a story here." So I said, "Oh, okay, that's interesting." She was like, Why?" So I explained why I might be interested. And I said about working with the Battle of Britain Memorial flight and said we're always looking for stories. She says, "Oh, I've really researched him. I've got loads of information. Look." And again, she had a big folder full of information about him. And this guy, he was 22 and had flown 22 missions. And his
Wow.
23rd mission was a test flight of a brand new Lancaster, freshly delivered, and it crashed. And he and the whole crew, except for the navigator, were killed on a test flight, not in combat. Um,
Where did that happen?
so they were flying out of it's a place just up here in Lincolnshire. Um, what's it called now? I can't remember what it's called now, but it's the Lincolnshire Aviation Heritage Centre is based there. The name will come to me in a minute. And it had two squadrons there. I think it had 57 Squadron and a Canadian squadron, and he had been transferred to 57 Squadron from 207, and yeah, just were test flying this new Lancaster, and it just crashed
God.
for whatever reason. And the story went that the navigator hadn't been with them because it was a local flight,
Yeah.
um, and couldn't ever fly in the Lancaster again because he was so racked with guilt over the fact that he wasn't with them, but flew another, I don't know, 20 or so missions in mosquitoes and survived the war. So she was like, "Oh, I don't know if you're interested or not." I was like, "Ah."
They see you're talking. Bring it here. Bring
She
it here
just
at
said,
once.
said,
That's
"Oh, of course,
insane.
I've got his logbook," she
What a
said.
story.
She was
Yeah.
just flicking through it with, radon, wherever,
Yeah. Yeah.
just amazing. All
Wow.
because I needed a better picture of a horse trough. And the whole thing had started off with me thinking, oh, low res pictures again, how annoying. And then
Yeah.
ended up with discovering this amazing
Mm,
story about this.
mm.
I
Yeah.
just thought it was amazing. I just love how aviation seems to find me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
go out to take a picture of a horse trough, and then you find an aviation
Yeah.
story. Just
Yeah.
amazing. And
That's
there's
amazing.
something else actually just occurred to me that I'll share very briefly. Where I live, there's a lot of immigrants live here, lots of Eastern Europeans especially, all because of the farming really in this area. And the town has forgotten that it's always had lots of immigrants
Mm.
because it's a port town. So we've always had lots of Latvians here because the wood comes in from Latvia, and there's always been a big Portuguese population, all that kind of thing. But people have forgotten that in recent years, I think, given should we say, the current political
Yeah.
situation. So a few years ago, I was working with a local guy who was from an Eastern European country, and there was some kind of festival in town, and we were trying to show people that things were very similar in Latvia and Lithuania and all these places as they are here. And we had Christmas cards and Christmas food from the to and all that kind of thing. Anyway, this guy came in and he walked straight up to me and he said, "I'm from Lithuania." And I said, "Oh, great, nice to meet you." And he said, "I used to man the radar station. We used to track the blackbirds." Sorry?
What?
He said, yes, it used to come into the Baltic and we used to see it coming and we would track it and we would lock on and we would pass the information up the line of the command to the Soviet commander. And the Soviet commander would say, yes, we could bring the missiles to readiness if we needed to. And we would watch it all the way around and back out the Baltic. And I said, well, that's amazing. What an incredible story. I've never heard the story from
Yeah.
that side before. And he said, yes, yes, we did that. I did that. I was there. And then he walked out. And I thought, why did he tell me that story?
Yeah. Why do you attract them? What
Yeah,
is it that you have? Some aviation magnet that's put in your, fetal
yeah,
stage that suddenly magnetizes
yeah.
everybody
I
to
ju-
you.
and it was such a technical thing. So few people
Yeah.
understood what he was talking about because he was talking about
Mm.
altitudes and Mach numbers and things,
Mm.
um, and missile systems and radars. And he was talking about the search radar and the target designating radar and all this kind of stuff. And then he just walked out again. It just
Wow.
blew my mind
Wow.
a bit that he
Wow.
just assumed not only that I would be interested, but that I would understand. Just
Yeah. Amazing. Good
yeah,
fodder.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Really good fodder.
Never found him again though, which is a shame. But
Because somebody else is in the wings, aren't they?
he's probably been arrested.
He's probably, I mean, if we look at I want to call them the sort of Coleman's mustard sponsored fields because everything is yellow.
Yes, yeah, yeah, we go.
And I was with some friends yesterday and last night, and I'm amazed at how yellow this everything is. And yet the trees and the forest along the South Downs are just so green.
Are they?
It's just amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Everything here is brown.
Mm. Have you got brown?
Oh, a lot of brown. There's not a lot of green to be seen at all in this area.
Not yellow.
Not a lot of yellow. No, yellow, no, just brown. I mean, and also a lot of the crops have been harvested already, which seems very
Yeah,
early. But
yeah,
yeah, the grassland around here everywhere is brown. Even the trees now look like they're starting to suffer.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
definitely. Yeah.
very, very parched and a little bit scary with the fire risk and all that kind of
I
thing as well.
Yeah, we're on high alert here. So, how was your week? How was your were you driving a desk or were you off at events? I mean, event season is pretty much underway, isn't it?
So yeah, so no, it's been
Well,
desk driving this week. I've just been writing about GPS jamming and spoofing, which is
oh,
pretty scary stuff. So
mm.
that was interesting. But I've been
On
keeping
what
design.
commercial flight? Are you talking about on what commercial flight?
So
Or,
so the target is always military, especially around the Baltic Sea, the Gulf, that
yeah,
region. It's always about defeating a military threat or just making military operations difficult, but it's indiscriminate. So if you fly into an area of GPS jamming, you fly into an area of GPS jamming, and it's going to affect your systems, whoever you are, whether
Mm.
you're a business jet or whatever you are. Um, and just finding out about how it's done and what the counters to it are, and um, just the disruption it causes beyond being lost or not where you thought you were.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of systems need that. There's a timestamp apparently embedded in a GPS signal, and a lot of systems rely on that timestamp to work, like connectivity systems, mobile
Mhm.
phones. When your phone connects to the GPS, it's not just navigating, it's also getting this time signal constantly that helps its
Mhm.
systems keep going. So a while ago, I spoke to someone and one of their test pilots, she had been flying in the Mediterranean and landed at Cyprus. And when she got there, because her phone had lost GPS signal because they'd flown through an area of jamming, it thought it had been stolen and locked her out. And she had to take it to some phone dealer or something and get it unlocked because the phone was convinced it was being compromised because it had lost a GPS signal. Or rather, that's not quite true. The GPS signal said it was somewhere where it knew it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just yeah.
But and it's deliberate as well, isn't it? Because we know that the Russians quite like to jam radar on flights, don't
Yeah,
they?
so let's
And
yeah, the Ukrainians too, to be honest.
okay.
So both sides are jamming GPS or spoofing GPS. And around the Gulf, yeah, absolutely. Everyone around the Gulf is doing it too. Let's not just think it's the Iranians. Everyone will be doing it.
Yeah.
Um, but those technologies are increasingly relatively cheap and they're being passed to third parties, so let's say non-state actors. So you get a group that a government is sympathetic towards using these things even more indiscriminately and causing even more issues. And not just for aeroplanes, it can be for boats as well. Anything that uses GPS,
Yeah.
it can be jammed or spoofed.
Mm.
What the real aim here, the military aim here, is to confuse guidance systems on aircraft, weapon systems, drones, that kind of thing. Um, or to spoof them so that you can use it defensively in that you could spoof, let's say you've got a GPS guided drone or a missile coming towards your city, you can spoof it away to an area of open land and make it go down and explode in the forest rather than in the city.
Yeah.
But again, it's indiscriminate. So
Yeah.
you could also inadvertently spoof an airliner into thinking it's 3 miles to the left of the
Yeah.
runway and it corrects and actually then goes 3 miles to the right of the runway or
Mhm.
whatever. So yeah, it's really more prevalent than I imagined. It's happened quite quickly, and everyone's running to catch up with, of course, how to solve it, but also being a military thing, how to get around the solution and carry on doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And what influence does AI have on GPS?
Um, At the moment, I think not a great deal because these things tend to be moving around a lot. So you put your transmitter up, then you move to somewhere else and do it again.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
but what I did learn is that the way a lot of the avionics systems are getting around it is by what the military would call sensor fusion. So you just don't just rely on your GPS, you rely on your INS and various other things as well. You take all that data and you fuse it, and that says, no, GPS is definitely wrong. So in that sense, yeah, there could be a role for AI there, um, in calculating, or at least in getting all of that information and coming up with an answer. But
Yeah.
whether or not you would then trust that, I don't know,
Mm.
because that would
Wow.
be, yeah. But anyway, yeah,
Wow.
just really
It,
interesting.
yeah, isn't it?
And the other thing I've been doing a lot this week is following various discussions about the Farnborough Airshow. I know we talked about it last week, and
With
we
Alex.
time and yeah, with Alex, that's right. Um, there have been people saying, no, oh, it's the end of the summer air show. There wasn't a very big static display, and oh, this can't be sustained, all that kind of thing. I've heard others people
React and
saying, oh, there was only military in the static display, nothing really civil. Well, I saw some pretty, well, behind me, you can see an A350-900. Um, but it was only military, nothing for civil people anymore. But then I thought, you've missed the fact that there were what, 4 or 5 halls packed
yeah.
with people who do everything. And like we said last week, there are people there who make fasteners, but then there
Yeah.
are people there who make airliners or space rockets or helicopters
Yeah.
or whatever.
Electric motors and
All of that stuff.
mhm.
Um, So people are saying, oh, it's the end of the air show, such as it is. We don't have many air shows in the UK anymore. So we need them because,
Yeah.
again, this is something we've spoken about before, getting young people into aviation, showing them the possibility. To me, that happened on the Friday at Farnborough. That was when people could go in. I believe it was sold out, 50,000 tickets sold out for the Friday. Um, so for me, the critical part of that show really is the Friday. And I wonder if it didn't ought to be the Thursday and the Friday. So
Mm,
jade and folk like us are in there Monday to Wednesday, because by Thursday everyone's a little bit jaded anyway.
yeah.
Um, get the people who really matter in on Thursday and Friday. Do your deals, take your
Yeah.
pictures, have your flight attendant standing there while you're shaking hands. Um, and then get the young folk in on Thursday and Friday and show them the potential. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's been my take on the whole thing, really. So, yeah, that's where I've been this week. But that did lead me to wonder about boat, yacht, car shows, all that kind of thing. So I've never been to a boat show. I've been to two car shows. I went to one at the XL in London,
Yeah.
which was new cars, like regular
Yeah.
new cars, Fords and Vauxhalls and things. And then I went to one at the NEC, which was not really my cup of tea. It was like modified cars and racing cars and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Not so much.
But there used to be, I can remember reading about the London Motor Show, the Geneva Motor Show, and
Yeah.
various others. Do they still happen?
No, not really. Um,
Oh,
the whole thing has changed since COVID, I think. It's had COVID had such a massive impact on shows.
mm,
Um, it's a breeding ground for germs as well. A lot of people walking, a lot of people moving around
yeah,
and indoors
yeah,
mostly.
yeah.
So I think the footprint, Geneva was the big Geneva, they used to have Geneva Motor Show, huge, huge, huge halls.
Mm,
And it was just, I think COVID came along, and what was becoming really apparent was that the content creators were getting the press releases, sometimes breaking embargoes before the show started, and they were uploading details about the show before it was underway. Where somebody would be watching this, reading it, and listening to it, and thinking, "Well, I've pretty much got the stories I need. I don't need to go down to the show now."
yeah.
So there was a bit of that going on, and it's very expensive for manufacturers, and car sales were going down, and the massive Chinese automotive takeover. We'll go to a car show, we'll get in the footwell of a car, and we'll see how it's put together, and we'll go home and buy 0900 the next morning. That car will have been replicated to
Mm,
the nth degree. So I think shows with COVID had a completely sort of change in how they had in their layout and how they appeared, and what people wanted. And everybody wants news that has already happened.
mm,
And and is there any point in going down there? And a lot of these magazines can't afford to send their media to the show. So they were dependent on manufacturers with nice budgets to host media. So before Geneva, we'd go off and we'd go skiing, and we'd drive Porsches down, and we'd go skiing with Ford and Land Rover, and we had an amazing time. But that is a useful little segue into yacht shows, because it
mm,
is yacht show season, and a lot of those boats, you can see Kismet in the background there with her lovely leaping leopard bow.
mm,
And there are the most incredible boats brought together for sale at one particular show every year in September, and that is MYS Monaco Yacht Show, and it is huge. And in the tight space, all these OEMs, brokerage houses, media, every possible person connected to the yacht industry is gathered around Port Hercule, which is this harbour in
right.
Monaco, and they're selling, chartering, building, brokering, all sorts of things to do with yachts.
Mm,
And what happens is, generally it starts, so this year it's on the 23rd to the 26th of September, and you fly in, and generally what happens is you get there the day before, and there's some dinners and cocktail parties and people having parties on board their yachts and all that sort of stuff. And then a lot of deals are done the day before. So the big money comes into town the day
right.
before the show officially opens. And then that next day is really to close those deals out, make sure it all goes through. And then the 24th, 25th, 26th is slightly more public. But again, we go back to COVID, and a lot of people, it was easier to get into Monaco Yacht Show before COVID happened,
Mm.
but because what they need to do with Monaco is they need to make money. It's a vehicle for making money.
Sure.
And so with that, a lot of people were going that weren't actually contributing to that
Right.
fund at
Mm.
all. That's the wrong word, but and so they had to change how that looked. So then they had to reprise the acceptance system, the accreditation system, and all that sort of stuff to get people in. So now you're pretty much you're vetted to the nth degree on your outlets and whether you can get in and who you're writing it for and actually what's the story you've been commissioned to write, who's
Mm.
hosting you, and what your deadlines are. So it's much more difficult, much more difficult. And I'm just going to, sorry, Mike, I'm just plugging that in. And so it's a whole different ball game. But you have extraordinary 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 110, 20-meter yachts
Wow.
changing hands down there. The figures, of course, are never out there.
No.
But it is an extraordinary place. And you've got a helicopter or two
Mm.
on sitting on top of the Yacht Club de Monaco, and then you've got occasionally motor car manufacturers as well. But it's just sitting outside the Hotel de
Yeah.
Paris, and you've got every possible car that's worth
Mm.
over £500,000 sitting out there. And then you're in your taxi trying to get from A to B in Monaco because you're hosting somebody there, but you need to go and look at a media interview there, etc., etc. And you're trying to get there. And last year I got stuck in a car, in a lovely host car, and I was sitting there, and who was behind me on his bicycle, but Charles Leclerc and his now wife, which was hysterical. And I was sort of waving to them, and they were just sort of, going and picking up their groceries and heading home because he lives down or they live down there. So, but it is an insane spot for
Mm.
those 4 or 5 days that you're down there.
Yeah.
After which, if you've got time on your hands, you can waft around to Saint Tropez for the Voile de Saint Tropez, where you have all the maxi yachts, the big sloops that race like water yachts, and they have this extraordinary race in the Gulf de Saint Tropez, and it's just beautiful, and it's very kind of old money, and you get a lot of people there in their beautiful old cars, and it's stunning, it's glorious. And then we have Flibs in October, which is Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. So it's high season out there now. Everybody's being photographed on their yachts, and they're all at anchor somewhere. And Greece is a big
Mm.
hit again this year, and
Mm.
it goes on right on through until the season ends, pretty much mid-October.
Right.
And then that's the last sort of charter. Mm.
So, having said all that, I wonder if the next time we record, we might get a yacht person because we had Alex from Saxon Air as our first aviation guest. Maybe we could have a yacht guest.
We
Um,
do. We're
oh,
going to. Yeah, we're
oh,
absolutely going to. Yeah.
uh,
He's just away at the moment in
okay.
Greece, funny enough.
Funny enough, yes,
But
okay.
yeah, definitely he comes back and we'll get him on. It'll be really interesting to talk about the yachts that are going to be at Monaco this year. Um, yeah, and some other developments across the industry as well. Mhm.
Fantastic. So,
Fossil
so
fuels. Mm.
Monaco, not Monica, Monaco Yacht Show is towards the end of September. And that has reminded me there was something I wanted to mention when we talk about Farnborough, which is I was moaning about there not being really any UK air shows anymore. There is a new one this year. And because it's new, I think it's worth giving a little plug. It's called the Hampshire Air Festival and it's at Thruxton, which is also a car place, of course,
It's
isn't it?
just down the road.
Yeah. 12th and the 13th of September. So you should buy your ticket.
What
What?
size of
What?
aircraft
What?
is going to be
Uh,
landing there?
I don't know what's going to be landing, but if you look on their website, they've got all sorts of things in their flying display already booked. Aerobatics, they're having a MiG, they're having
Really?
Chinook, yeah, all sorts of stuff flying. I go have a look. I mean, I don't really
Yeah.
know. I just thought I'd give you. I
Hampshire?
wasn't expecting a grilling, to be fair.
No, you're not going to get a grilling. What is it? Is it called Hampshire Air Show?
Hampshire Air Festival.
Hampshire Air Festival.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're doing a night or a dusk event with pyrotechnics and drones and lights and all that sort of stuff
Ah,
too.
yeah.
So
Brilliant. I
yeah,
think let's get rid of fireworks and just have drones instead. They're so much cooler, so much better.
and less likely to set fire to the grassland when they land. Well, you hope so anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so we have you're off to the Hampshire Air Festival. We have a yacht person sailing in next time. And I
Mhm.
think it's worth saying we had a little chat and we've kind of decided that we might take a week off next week because it's summer.
Mhm.
So if you're out there, our faithful 7 viewers, or however many of you there are, and we don't appear in next week, don't worry, we're coming back. We're just taking a little bit of a break. And it could well be that we do kind of a fortnightly thing thereafter. We're still in discussion about this, but we'll see what we do. I think really the concern is what we want to do is deliver quality rather than quantity and just have a lot of fun, really. So that's
And
the
there's a
plan.
lot happening in September, October, and
Exactly that.
November. A lot.
Yeah,
So
exactly that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm going to say thank you all very much for watching once again. I'm going to have to you, VMB, to do your sign off, and then we're all done for this time around.
yeah, yeah. So thank you to our hosts, Eva International Media. Thank you
Yeah.
for viewing us, watching us. I can't speak. I've finally run out 7 months straight. I've finally run out of vocab. The parts bin is empty. It's a good time to be going off.
Yes, I think
But
that's
thank you
exactly
all
right.
for watching. And
Yeah.
we're looking forward to being back on here and seeing you in a week or two, I think,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
And yes, our thanks to Salem as well for his production and the team. And go well, everybody. Have a great summer, whatever you're up to.
Mm.
And please send us ideas, send us suggestions of things you'd like us to talk about, even candidates for interview as well. We're
Yep.
really up for hearing that. And
Absolutely.
yeah, have a great summer, and we'll see you on the other side.
Good stuff. Take care.
All
Bye.
right, take care. Bye.